The following is an Outdoor Channel original production.
Today, a black market stakeout and a canine fakeout. First, an elusive smuggler with an exotic tusk. And then, a story of how a dog and two amused kids led to a bust.
My name is Randy Nelson, and in my 35-year career as a fishery officer, I became known as the best investigator in British Columbia.
Just leave him out here to rot.
As a best-selling author, I've contacted hundreds of wardens from all over North America to hear their tales.
Fish and wildlife here. See that smell? Look at there. We have a warrant to search your premises.
There's blood on the ground.
These are their case files.
Game warning! Put your guns on the ground!
Officer down!
You're under arrest.
This is a narwhal tusk. Commonly called a tusk, but it's actually a tooth. It grows off the end of the nose of a narwhal. These animals will live under the ice in the Arctic for months at a time. And the real purpose of the tusk is not known. The most accepted theory is that it's used to attract a mate. Narwhal are not endangered, however, they are protected. Narwhals are regularly hunted by Inuit hunters in the north, and the tusks are legally sold to Canadians. Narwhal tusks are not legal to own in the U.S. unless you purchase them before 1972. Wardens and rangers around the world protect wildlife and their habitats. If you get the urge to poach, beware. Wardens are watching. Sheldon, you're going to share with us a smuggling story involving narwhal tusks.
People who were involved were taking legally harvested narwhal tusks, but illegally smuggling them into the United States.
So in Canada, you can legally obtain these through permitting system. It's a lot more difficult in the U.S., I understand.
Exactly, and that is where our investigation begins. This operation, appropriately called Operation Longtooth, this officer was surfing the internet looking for illegal contraband that might be for sale, and he came across an eBay site where narwhal ivory was actually being sold online for all to see.
Hey, Bryce, check this out.
What do we got?
Look at the tusk this guy is selling.
That might be the one.
Let's get this. Yeah, let's write the deal in. See if you can locate this guy.
All right, you got it.
So it was an eBay ad that he picks up the first piece of evidence on this case.
And what we found as officers going back was an incredible, very sophisticated operation of procurement, smuggling, distribution of the contraband within the United States that required dozens of officers and many months of hard work to be able to dismantle.
I find that really interesting that an officer in Ohio, about as far from the ocean as you can get, and as far from, quite a ways from the Arctic, finds a piece of evidence and opens a whole can of worms.
That's what it is. If you were to do a comparison with the drug trade, you never come across Pablo Escobar, you come across the local dealer who is selling to people locally. In this case, it was a dealer artist, somebody who was supplying a number of carvers across the United States who was caught. Essentially what happens is they start talking with this individual, and the individual recognizes that he's in trouble. So he decides that he's going to cooperate with authorities. What authorities weren't expecting was that there would be an entire network of carvers that was being supplied through a very narrow supply chain coming back to an individual and his wife in Canada.
Where did he get his tusks from? You don't just buy them off the street?
No, and if you've ever been to the far north of Canada, you'll understand that it's very hard to get to. There's no roads going up. There might be a ship that goes up with supplies every year. Very difficult to make connections in the far north of Canada. The communities, the hamlets are very far apart. Our officer was a Mountie who was stationed in the north for many years. And because he was stationed in the north, obviously he had the opportunity to make lots of contacts to be able to have a legal supply of narwhal tusk. This organization was organized like any drug smuggling organization. So in effect, it's not the drug smuggling or the narwhal smuggling, it's a smuggling organization. This is organized crime. These are a number of people, they know what they're doing. They have a supplier, a middleman, and a client at the end.
What you got?
Take a look what we have here.
Looks good, looks good. Let's process it.
All right, you got it.
And the Canadian Mountie, former Mountie, his job was to procure the narwhal tusks and to bring them into the United States without being detected.
This is our guy. We know he leaves his residence. He makes his way to the highway, crosses the US-Canada border, enters the wilderness. This is where we lose him. Then he pops out, everything's packaged up, and he's at the shipping center with everything ready to go. I want a UC to trail him into the wilderness and find out what he's doing.
You got it, Chief.
Essentially, there were two ways that he was doing it. The first way was wrapping them up, let's say in plastic bags or something, and using tie wraps to fix them to the bottom of the chassis of his truck. He also had a trailer, just a plain old utility trailer, but the trailer had a false compartment in it, which you had to know to be able to look for it, because a narwhal tusk, while it might be 2 meters long, it might only be, 10 centimeters or about 4 inches wide, so it's reasonably thin. And he had a false floor in there, which is a common smuggling technique that customs officers, like I said, I encountered that many times when I worked on the border.
So he's smuggling these across the border and concealed under a vehicle or under a trailer, and sometimes false paperwork. So now he's going into the States. How does he carry on from there?
So he would drive across the border, usually between St. Stephen, New Brunswick and Calais, Maine. It's a medium-sized border port, kind of sleepy, not much going on, not a bunch of smuggling. So
he's using a small port to the U.S. over and over, going to the same place.
Exactly. So essentially, his job was procuring, getting them across the border, and then shipping them once they got into the United States.
So you and the U.S. authorities have identified this entire smuggling ring. So what steps do you take next?
So we've got the players in place. We know who they are. It's a matter of trying to catch them red-handed, or at least get their fingerprints red-handed.
Yeah.
So a lot of this takes the development of criminal intelligence.
Yes.
The intelligence being trying to figure out when are the movers going to move. To do that, we had to do a lot of covert surveillance. Find out where, when, how, what frequency the people were moving at. Use that information to organize mobile surveillance operation. And our main mobile surveillance operation started one summer's day, early in the morning. So as I mentioned, the individual who's doing the smuggling, he has a home in New Brunswick near the US border. Our officers were stationed around that property, and they were actually watching from a distance. Then he starts driving off towards the main border. To do that, we had a team of surveillance officers who were in several different vehicles following him all the way to the main border. Now, when he got to the main border, what was needed was, our officers can't enforce Canadian law in the United States, but there was another team of US officers on the other side just waiting.
Tag team surveillance.
Exactly. And there was already an agreement with the US Customs that the US Customs would let him go through, recognizing that there was a team of surveillance and that we were following the evidence.
That's him, that's him, that's him.
U.S. Border Patrol, this is Canadian Game Warden. Our suspect is driving the silver Toyota Tundra with the trailer. Please let him through.
Copy. Toyota Tundra with trailer. Afternoon, sir. How you doing?
Good. How you doing, officer?
Good. Good. What's your business today?
Just heading into the States to see a buddy of mine.
All right. You got your ID?
Sure. Grab it here for you. There you go.
All right, Joe. Can you take off your sunglasses for me?
Sure.
All right. You mind if I take a look around?
Have at her.
Okay. There you go. Have a good day.
You have a great day too. Take care.
So you're following this guy through the countryside where there's not a lot of traffic, and you're kind of thinking, gee, does he know we're here or not?
And one of the challenges in terms of proving this to a judge is to show that we had continuity,
Right.
that we knew that, you know, this evidence was always with the individual.
By continuity, you can't lose sight of that vehicle at any time.
Exactly.
Correct?
But you can't tail the person so close that he recognizes that there's this green car that's always 50 meters behind me.
It's a fine line. I've been involved in some of those, and those are challenging situations.
It definitely gets the butterflies going in your tummy sometimes.
U.S. Game Warden, this is undercover. We are about to enter the town.
Copy that.
There they are.
Okay, here's our guy. Okay, we're tracking. Yep, I see him. He's got the trailer. He's checking it.
That's out.
Oh, that's perfect timing. He's coming out. Nice. Nice, Joe.
Let's see if he notices us.
Okay, he's leaving now.
Looking good so far.
So they haven't arrested the fellow yet, and he presumably wouldn't know about the operation yet at this point?
Precisely, and he goes about his business and eventually returns back to Canada like nothing ever happened. So what we had from here was the intelligence showing that this individual had been doing this many times. We actually had a surveillance of an entire smuggling operation, so to speak. One of the things that most people don't realize is that wildlife crime, environmental crime writ large, but particularly wildlife crime, is one of the most lucrative crime areas out there. Interpol, the UN, Office on Drugs and Crime, estimated to be worth upwards of $250 billion per year. And this is 2016 dollars. So, you know, why is this person smuggling to the United States? Because it's worth money.
Absolutely. And harder to get caught than some of the other things like drugs and
exactly
human smuggling.
And one of the attractions of wildlife crime is the fact that, generally speaking, your sentences, your penalties aren't going to be as high for what we would consider hard crime. But it's the same thing. Plus, you're removing a resource from often the environment and from vulnerable communities like the Indigenous communities where there's not a lot of economic opportunities.
Society has to do a better job of educating our legal system.
Exactly. Our American friends, though, they had a great idea. Let's go after the money.
This was not just a crime against the environment. It was a crime against the country as well. You are being sentenced for proceeds of crimes, money laundering and profiting. 5 years in jail. You will be remanded to the bailiff at this time. Court is adjourned.
In the U.S. context, he ended up with a sentence of 5 years in prison for the money offenses. And I think this is something that we, in the wildlife and environmental enforcement community, need to look at a little more, is not just look at the basic offense against the natural resource, but also the motivation, the money.
Treating it more like organized crime, which it is.
Which it is. This was a model that should be used more often, where countries look at not only the environmental offense, but the money, because it's the money that's driving it. People don't go after environmental crime as a crime of passion or something like that. They're doing it to either make money or to not pay money.
So this guy serves time in U.S. prison?
Yep, I'm not sure if he did the whole 5 years or if he was let out on good behavior, but he's been quiet ever since.
That's good to hear. Coy, you got a really funny story about a hunter who makes a mistake.
I do. You know, it involves Kika. I still, think about it and chuckle to myself, especially when I'm not thinking about it a whole lot. But I got a call about some people shooting off the road and without permission.
All right, I will get right on that. Thank you. Let's go, Kika.
So I always like to go down to the scene first, even if I don't think they're going to be there. So I go down the scene, and I'm cruising this road, and I got an idea where it is. I got a house described to me, and then it happened right across the county road from that house. And next thing I know, it happens to be the vehicle that was involved.
The one you're looking for?
The one I'm looking for. I'm thinking, this is a pretty sweet deal.
Hello. How y'all doing today?
We're good, sir. How are you?
Oh, just fine. Well, I got a call about some shooting from the road around here.
And I looked in the back seat, and there were two young kids.
Yeah.
And my assumption was this is the father.
Yeah.
And I said, well...
Your vehicle matches the description.
Oh, no, we were beyond that fence there, not in the road.
It's good to hear.
And he goes, well, my son shot, and, it was his first deer. And I said, well, did you hit it? And he goes, not that I know of. I said, well, did your son really shoot at it? And, I could tell by the way he didn't answer it that somebody else had shot at it.
Yeah.
So I said, well, how many shots, did your son shoot? Oh, 3 or 4. I said, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this dog of mine, I'm going to gut it out here, and we're going to see exactly what happened.
I got my canine Kika. I'm going to go ahead and let her run out. Just stay by your truck and we'll see what she finds, okay?
And so, I had him, the father, stand outside the truck, so I keep an eye on him, so to speak. And the two kids were in the back of the truck, and they were tee-heeing back and forth. So I send Kika out.
Fine.
Within 15 seconds, she finds one casing.
Good girl.
And I can hear the kids in the back of the truck kind of clapping, and I can hear.
Hey, look, she found one.
So the kids were excited, and I picked the casing up, and it was whatever Dad had in the truck. I can't remember the caliber. I said, gave Kika the word again, find, and she goes out and finds the second one.
Again, find.
Hey, Dad, look, she found another.
And the kids are just teeing and belly rolling and laughing and just rooting for the dog.
Dad probably is not lapping along.
Dad's not, you could see that he was not impressed with the dog, so to speak. Send her out again, and lo and behold, within a 20-foot section, she found 3 shell casings, all on the roadside of the fence.
Where he shouldn't be shooting from.
Correct.
Okay.
Or his kid shouldn't be shooting from. Either way I had him, whether it was the kids or whatever, but it was an 11-year-old kid. I'm not writing a ticket to an 11-year-old kid. In fact, part of the reason was those kids were cheering on the dog. So I couldn't I couldn't penalize him for that.
Well, Dad, I'm gonna have to give you an accountability warning. Don't be shooting from the road from now on, you hear?
I understand.
Set a good example for these kids, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He's with his kids. I've, hopefully impressed to do the right thing, do it the right way. And, but what sticks in my mind is those kids cheering the dog on. Look, she found another one. She found another one.
It's a pretty hilarious event from your point of view. Kids cheering your dog on. That's adding evidence to their poor dad.
Yeah, definitely the kids were rooting for the right team, though, no doubt. But after every shell casing, it seemed like the dad got smaller and smaller in stature.